Roland Robles here with MLC Technical Team. In today's demonstration, we'll be leveraging PDM Professional to automate three very important tasks for our organization. These tasks are going to be creating a 2D PDF from a drawing, creating a 3D PDF from an assembly, and then finally exporting some bill of material data out to an XML file so that way we can share this information with other systems in our organization. Let's take a look how we can accomplish this. What we have here is we have our existing watch assembly. With this watch assembly, we do already have a corresponding 2D mechanical drawing that will have all of our important dimensions and information. Currently, this watch and this drawing and all of the subcomponents that make up this watch are in a design state called work in process. What we need to do is go ahead and get these files approved and automate our three tasks of generating our two PDFs and exporting out our bill of material. The way that we leverage this inside of PDM is using what we call a workflow. In this case, I'm currently logged in as a designer, and as a designer, I'm going to go ahead and submit my design for review for my upper level management to take a look at it. As I submit this assembly for review, it will go ahead and grab all of the components and all of the files that this project will need. Once I've submitted my design for review, you'll see that the state is changed from work in process to pending approval. Along with that, our bill of material is automatically getting managed inside PDM from the mechanical SolidWorks file that's been created as for the designer. Now, I need to go ahead and get this design approved so that way we can get our tooling and get our downstream processes going on manufacturing our first initial prototype. To do this, let's log in as a current manager and let's go ahead and approve this design to get it ready. Right now, I'm logging in as one of my design managers. Once I get logged into the vault, I can then leverage one of my search tools or just navigate to where this current project is. In this case, I'm working on project 5 and I can see all my CAD files. As a manager, I do have the permission and the ability to take a design and go ahead and approve it for manufacturing. In this example, I'm going to go ahead and take a look at this assembly and just make sure that everything looks good. So one of the big benefits is leveraging our current preview. I'm going to give the drawing a once over, and now that I see that the design looks sufficient, I'm going to go ahead and approve it for manufacturing. Now before I approve this for manufacturing, I want to show you where I'm going to be putting this information that my manufacturing team needs. In my vault, I currently have a folder called Vendor PDFs. In this folder, you're going to see that my PDM system is auto-generate two distinct PDFs. One for the 2D CAD file and another 3D PDF that'll give my downstream manufacturer the ability to look at that in the 3D form without actually having the native CAD file. Along with that, we're going to look at this folder called BOM Export. In this folder, this is how I'm sharing my current information from my design with all of the other systems. Using PDM, we generate an XML file that'll have all the important information that my other systems in my organization will need. And then those systems can then grab that information out of this XML that's stored in this folder. So let's go ahead and get this guy approved. So what we have here is we have our CAD file, and we're going to right click on this guy just like any other file type inside PDM, and we're going to change the state. As a manager, you'll see that I do have the ability to release this document, so I'm going to go ahead and release this, and I'll put my comment in just like I'm used to doing. Now once I finish this, you'll see that my state changes for all of my files and all of the components for this existing project. You'll see that my state is now in this release state. What is happening in the background is inside PDM, I have my workflow with my current task. In this task, that I have set up, I have an auto generation of the 3D PDF and an auto generation of a 2D PDF. Along with the generation of these two PDFs, I have a rule set up inside my workflow that will export my bill of material information. We set up these rules inside our PDM vault, and then we trigger these rules along with our task using this workflow. In my current workflow, once a file is done being approved and hits the release state, this is where I actually trigger those three actions of auto-generating the PDFs and auto-generation of the XML file, so that way I can share this information with my other systems. Now that my workflow is set up and all my files have finished transitioning from WIP to pending approval, and then finally from my pending approval state to the release state, all these actions in the background, and in this case on my current machine, have been running and creating that data. Let's take a look at what that deliverable looks like. The first thing I want to show you is inside PDM, we manage all of our metadata using this data card. In here we can see common things like part number and key important information that you would want to share with anybody who needs to look at this data. Along with all of this important information, I like to track who has been doing the approvals. So we can see in this case who created the files and also who's approved the files. We can carry this information for any kind of file inside PDM. Now in my task, the really neat thing about leveraging our task is the fact that we can carry all of this information from my current engineering document to that PDF document. So let's go take a look at our vendor folder. So if I come back over here in that folder that we're looking at called vendor PDFs, you'll see that two PDFs have been created in the background with my system. The first one, if we look at this preview, is a 2D PDF of my mechanical drawing file. By going and looking in the data card, you'll see that this PDF file actually carries over all the same information from the file that generated this PDF, including the approval levels. So anybody now looking at this file can see all of that important mechanical design information without actually having the native CAD file. Along with the 2D PDF, it also generated a 3D PDF. By simply clicking on the preview, I can leverage a very similar interface to a normal 2D PDF where I can zoom in and zoom out and take advantage of all of those nice tools inside my Adobe PDF. Just like always, we can double click on this guy and open this up in the full-blown Adobe Reader or whatever Adobe product you're using to manipulate your PDF files. Zooming around, zooming in, panning, and rotating around in a very native format. The same way that my data card for the 2D PDF has all of the mechanical information, so does the 3D PDF data card. So we're carrying this metadata from the original file into the downstream files, along with all the approvals and any comments that somebody might have wanted to share. Now the last step in this process was to get all this information from this data card into another system in our organization, like an ERP system or a global system that's going to manage our hard commodities. The way that we're doing that is using that same workflow that generated these two PDFs that we were looking at. We actually generated an XML document that took all this information in a nice clean format that can then be imported into another system. If we go look at that folder that we looked at initially that was empty, we now see that there is an XML document. By simply double clicking on this XML document, I'm just going to view this using Internet Explorer. All of that information from my bill of material has been generated in this XML document. In my bill of material, the things that I needed to share downstream were the file name, configuration name, part number, quantity, the state that the file is currently in, and description and revision levels, so that way I'm not re-entering the same information into multiple systems. You'll see that all of my parts that were part of this assembly get all of that information in this XML document. Now it's ready to import into my downstream systems. In overview, there was 3 key tasks that we did here, and those 3 key three key tasks were all generated by a very, very familiar workflow for all PDM users. And in this example, that workflow was by simply releasing a document from pending approval to released. Like always, we can manually trigger these, but why manually trigger something when we can definitely automate it using PDM Professional? If you have any questions, feel free to reach back out to me at roland.robles@mlc-cad.com, or you can reach me directly at 512-201-2047. Thank you, and I hope to catch you on the next one.